This lesson is meant to expand your view of clients' root causes. When the four foundations are off, then all kinds of chaos can ensue in the body. Never was this more clear than during COVID, when those with excess weight, high blood sugar, high blood pressure, or health conditions were much more likely to get much more sick with the virus. Then, COVID triggered new issues in these people's bodies and became its own root cause. We all have clients who won't heal with diet and lifestyle alone. Sometimes the body isn't healthy enough to heal itself, even with having all of its needs met. We have to go in and rescue it from the consequent root causes. While there are many additional root causes, I want to spend more time in this module discussing those you may be a little less familiar with. A high toxic burden and imbalances involving the gut, rather than just a gut infection or overgrowth, are the two you'll most commonly see. As a result of these issues, the client can have immune dysfunction that then leads to chronic infections. There's always a root cause for the root cause. We'll discuss the three below: the toxins, the gut, and infections. Though there are many more root causes covered in the full program, as well as in our knowledge base and slate. First one, cellular health, which is impacted by toxins. In order to understand this domino effect, we need to review cellular health to portray how nutrient deficiencies and toxins can create so many different symptoms and diseases. For a very brief, incomplete reminder of cellular function. Number one, vitamins and minerals, as well as CoQ10, participate in dozens of steps in the mitochondria to turn carbs and fats into energy, or ATP, which is used to fuel the function of the cell, which fuels the function of the organ and the whole person. Hence, a nutrient deficiency somewhere, called the rate-limiting factor, will block efficient production and impacts function, whether that's of an intestinal transporter absorbing nutrients, a liver cell transforming a toxin for elimination, or a brain cell producing calming GABA. Number two, vitamins and minerals are also important for protecting the cell, both through their direct effects and by being building blocks for endogenous antioxidants, like glutathione. Remember that both the mitochondria and the cell have a lipid membrane, and lipids, or fats, are very prone to oxidation or damage. Hence why we don't heat olive oil to high temperatures. Once damaged, not only can molecules leak out and therefore halt cellular activity, but damaged cell membranes also attract the immune system to come clean up via inflammation. Antioxidants such as vitamins A, C, and E, lipoic acid, NAC, glutathione, CoQ10, carnitine, and melatonin all neutralize oxidative stress, allowing the cell to return to normal function. Proteins support production of important compounds that regulate metabolic pathways, such as peptides or hormones, and enzymes, not just digestive, but also ones that activate nutrients and break down hormones and toxins. Number three, fatty acids, omegas, saturated or unsaturated, and phospholipids, like serine or choline, regulate the fluidity of the cell membrane to keep the cells safe and allow molecules to do their job, such as insulin to get glucose inside the cell. These fats can also be used as building blocks for compounds that either cause inflammation or resolve inflammation, as well as act as signaling molecules to support healthy physiological function. Wouldn't it be nice if biochemistry were as simple as that summary? Now you have some bearings here. Let us consider how cellular function and knowing how it works helps us understand root causes. Toxins exert their harmful effects not only by causing oxidative stress, but also by replacing nutrients, which lowers nutrient status. As a result, the cell can't function well, which means the system the cells are in can't function. Hence, the client's immune system, nervous, and detoxification systems all get weaker, while hormones aren't made as efficiently, causing effects such as lower thyroid and higher cholesterol. What does this mean when you're trying to help a client? Maybe the reason why the mold in their home is causing them issues, or that COVID infection was able to trigger autoimmunity, or that estrogen builds up before menstruation, is because of deficits in their core functioning, cellular health. In addition to addressing the effect, mold toxicity, high histamine or viral burden, estrogen dominance, the breakthrough will come by truly addressing their deepest root causes of nutrient deficiencies from diet, stress, poor digestion, and toxic burden from constant daily exposure in their food, air, water, and items. Now, number 2 of our 3 ways to conceptualize root causes is the poor gut function. One of the ways that an unhealthy diet and stress exert their harmful effects, making them primary root causes, is through their impact on the gut. We'll address each one individually below. The reason it's such a big deal that they dampen gut function is because the gut is shockingly powerful when it comes to our health. Here are some interesting stats that you can share with your clients. We have more bacterial cells than human cells. There are more nerve cells in the gut than in the brain and spinal cord. Only 15% of nerves are used to send messages from the brain to the gut. 85% are from the gut to the brain. Bacteria produce the majority of our neurotransmitters, which do travel to the brain from our gut. Bacteria synthesizes significant amounts of vitamins and minerals. See the notes below for which ones. The gut uses 40% of the body's daily calories. The gut contains 75% of our immune system and is our main route of detoxification. You can see how anything that impacts gut health will drastically impact the rest of the body. This is one of the reasons why diet is a core root cause. Diet influences gut health by bacteria fermenting carbohydrates and proteins to make short-chain fatty acids, which feed the epithelial gut lining cells. Without fuel, cells are damaged and ineffective, so you get malabsorption and leaky gut. Bacteria also ferment proteins into fatty acids, phenol, indole, and ammonia, which are used by the body. Bacteria utilize and metabolize vitamins for survival and to make short-chain fatty acids. So deficiencies hurt the microbiome, and dysbiosis hurts the body's exposure and utilization of vitamins. Bacterial metabolism of bile acids increase their antimicrobial properties up to 10-fold, the antimicrobial properties of the bile acid, helping to keep bacteria levels in check, while bile acid metabolites from bacteria help to regulate cholesterol and metabolism and weight. Bacteria degrade polyphenols, color from fruits and veggies, to turn them into even stronger antioxidants to benefit overall health. Whew, that was a lot. Let's move on to stress. Stress can negatively impact gut health by decreasing motility and digestive secretions like mucus, stomach acid, enzymes, and bile, reduces blood flow, which impairs mucosal health, triggers opening of the tight junctions, which leads to permeability, aka leaky gut, changes composition and harmfulness, or the pathogenicity of bacteria. For those who enjoy understanding the biochemical mechanisms behind these processes, here's an example of a domino effect that can trap your client in a vicious stress and illness cycle. The process of a stressful thought causing gut inflammation, which increases overall stress, is CRH, corticotropin-releasing hormone, and catecholamines lead to activation of ACTH, which is adrenocorticotropic hormone. which then triggers release of cortisol. That activates NF-kappa beta, which is an inflammatory pathway, adhesion molecules to activate other immune cells, and acute phase reactants. This all triggers microbial virulence factors and leaky gut, decreases digestive compounds. That combination upregulates IL-6, the cytokine, and other cytokines, which then activates cortisol and depressed mood, keeping the body stuck in a stress state. To summarize, when we're stressed and not eating right, we have an insufficient mucus barrier that triggers constant inflammation, decreased ability to break down and extract nutrients from food, lack of fuel for the gut barrier and body, more harmful bacteria, and a less diverse microbiome, and therefore less resilience. The health impact of these aberrations: leaky gut, dysbiosis, nutrient deficiencies, and inflammation. You can see how, while you'll need to fix the things that have gone wrong, you won't achieve sustainable wellness without a healthy diet and stress level. Our final root cause category, the cell danger response. Finally, I'm going to just plant a seed about how all of this comes together as a unifying theory to understand how these root causes allow so many other exposures to trigger us. It's called the cell danger response, or CDR. I'm definitely not an expert on it, as it's a really complex topic. But here are the basics to help you understand what's happening in your client. The deficiencies, lifestyle, and toxins are physiological stressors that can cause red blood cells not to be formed correctly or to be damaged, releasing their free iron, which microbes in the blood, could be from leaky gut, the oral cavity, skin, UTIs, are able to consume, reactivating them from a dormant state and temporarily releasing toxins like LPS and iron-binding proteins, both of which are recognized by the immune system and activate an inflammatory response. But most of these bacteria are non-replicating, so they can't be cultured or become an acute infection. The cell danger response is where the cell becoming damaged due to the root causes above triggers a rapid, complex, coordinated response by the immune system, inflammation, that can change how cells function, geared towards primal, minimalistic processes, and also changes the body's self-regulation, a continuous fight or flight state, to create symptoms and disease as part of survival. This means the symptoms, headaches, anxiety, fatigue, brain fog, aren't an accidental reaction to a trigger, but rather a planned, intentional response by the body to improve survival. The resultant chronic inflammation over time causes almost every disease. Both the immune system and microbial toxins damage the mitochondria, so cells have less fuel, meaning organs don't work as well, and the client becomes sicker and less capable of healing. Some of the causes of the CDR are infection, toxins, and physical or psychological trauma. They all trigger the same sickness behavior of fatigue, pain, mood changes, brain fog, gut issues, and increased sensory sensitivity. For more, you can read section 2 of the study that is cited in your notes. If you're nerdy enough to still be listening, I'll give you a quick summary of how the CDR actually occurs in our body. When the cell is damaged enough, ATP is released and detected as a DAMP, which is all caps, you can look up what that means, starting the CDR. This activates a survival state in the person. Stage 1 is anaerobic glycolysis, which is, remember, the inefficient way to make energy, and diversion of resources towards repair. Step 2 is aerobic glycolysis for replacement of tissue via stem cells. If this doesn't happen, we get atrophy, sarcopenia, which is loss of muscle mass, fibrosis, think about the process of fatty liver, and senescence or cancer. This then leads to diseases of aging. Stage 3 is new healthy cells with good oxidative phosphorylation, the process of making ATP in a healthy way, leading to healing. If the DAMP or DARMs persist, then autoimmunity can develop. Caloric restriction improves mitochondrial function, which improves progression through the CDR to get to healing, as does exercise, nicotinamide riboside, which is niacin, a variation niacin, and essential amino acids. You can see the impact of diet. This etiology of chronic disease makes sense when also considering that a high normal white blood cell and a high neutrophil to lymphocyte count is seen in chronic inflammatory disorders, and a better marker of inflammation than any other direct inflammatory marker. And it's so much cheaper. It appears that the immune system attacking microbes, high white blood cells or high neutrophils, is underlying most disease. This could be one of the reasons we see herbal extracts able to help so many health conditions, because they have antimicrobial properties. Berberine is used for diabetes, but it's also an antibacterial for the gut. Curcumin reduces inflammation, but is also an antiviral and increases natural killer cells. Garlic lowers blood pressure and cholesterol, but is also an antifungal. There you have it. You now understand what truly needs addressing in your clients for them to be holistically, sustainably healthy. With this understanding, your protocols can be more effective and resonate deeper with your clients, giving you a competitive edge in your field and a more fulfilling experience. If you're just a bit curious about what it's like to have thousands of answers at your fingertips and a group of practitioners at your side, I recorded a tour of the experience inside our academy. This will give you a sneak peek about what it's like to be part of our community. No pressure, no pitch fest, just insights, tools, and takeaways to help you practice with more purpose and clarity. I'd love to welcome you inside the Functional Practitioner Academy. Click the link in the description for more.